Hello, thank you for joining me today. My name is Briant Sikorski, and I'm an independent wealth advisor with Stratos Wealth Partners. As a wealth advisor, I help clients work toward achieving their financial goals by providing personal, business, education, insurance, and legacy planning. I provide access to investment solutions including stocks, bonds, and religious, moral, and socially responsible mutual funds and exchange-traded funds. Today I'll be presenting Transamerica presentation, Women and Investing, the Female Economy, where we will discuss some of the advances that women have made throughout the years and yet also cover some of the challenges they still face. Now, we've probably all heard about the great San Francisco earthquake, which took place in 1906. At that time, there was a young banker with a reputation for helping small merchants and immigrant farmers. He had a bank that he had created entitled the Bank of Italy. And as the fires and other disasters bore down upon the city and his bank, he essentially loaded up the vaults of gold and money into a borrowed produce wagon and moved it to safety outside the city. He was really focusing on essentially saving that equity so that he could continue business. Within a few days, on a city dock near North Beach, he created a makeshift desk of a wooden plank straddling just 2 barrels and reopened for business. He extended credit to anyone in need with only a handshake as collateral. This began the reconstruction and recovery of San Francisco and established the Transamerica Corporation, who is graciously enough to provide me with this presentation. Now, to give some perspective, just 14 years after that earthquake, women made a significant step forward when the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was ratified in August 18th of 1920. And this allowed women the right to vote. Now, just 1 year later, A.P. Gianni opened the Women's Bank in June of 1921. He took the upper floor of the bank's headquarters in San Francisco and had a staff of 12 female employees and officers. And the purpose of the bank was to promote their economic independence. As we see written here, one female writer in Boston put it, the greatest success of the only bank in America that is administered, staffed, and maintained solely by women should give every male banker in this country a deep pause. Which brings us to today of the new female or she economy, where we're on the brink of a massive power shift, a grinding of the gears, if you will, of history into a new human condition. It's a world where women can, if they so choose, seize the reins of overall economic control. Well, why is that? Well, women have come a long way economically. As of 2011, women controlled about $20 trillion in global consumer spending. This number is expected to climb as high as $28 trillion by 2016. As of 2005, women controlled $14 trillion in personal assets. By 2020, that's expected to exceed $22 trillion. And in 2011, nearly 75% of women identify themselves as the primary shoppers of their overall household. Now, within business ownership, it's estimated there are more than 8 million women-owned businesses in the United States. They're expected to generate nearly $1.3 trillion in revenue, employ nearly 8 million people. In 2009, The Guardian predicted that by 2018, women will control over half of the 9.72 million new small business jobs that are expected to be formed. In the workplace, women comprise 46.8% of the total workforce as of 2010. Women accounted for 51% of all workers in higher paying occupations in the United States as well. But women still face unique challenges compared to men. When compared to men, women typically still earn less, spend fewer years in the workforce, paradoxically live longer, and have other concerns they must face. In 2010, a woman's full-time median income was just under $37,000, while a man's was over $47,000. Now, this puts women at a disadvantage in their retirement planning, retirement savings, and even negatively impacts and reduces the amount of their ultimate Social Security benefit, which they could receive at retirement. Now, part of this is due to the fact that women spend less time in the office. As of 2011, women worked a little less than 40 hours a week at 39, and men worked a little over 40 hours a week at 41.5. Part of that is because women often take time out of the workforce to have and raise children and to provide care for other family members. And again, I mentioned Social Security, whose benefits are paid based on an average working career of 35 years. If a woman turns out to work less than 35 years, her 35-year calculation is made by simply adding zeros to the years she didn't work. Fewer hours worked and lower earnings are reasons why average Social Security benefits are less for women than they are for men. It's also no surprise that women compared to men have a better chance of living longer, as we see on this chart. The challenge with this longevity is to gain an understanding on women's behalf of how much money they need and how they should invest to address their income needs during retirement. I guess one of the thought that came to mind is that while women are out of the workforce, at least from my perspective, I would see that a number of women will take into consideration not only the caliber or quantity of the work that they take on, but also that quality or that value, and that's reflected by women taking on many jobs that would be considered lower paying in social work or in teaching or in some kind of home care, home health, nursing professions. Women have other challenges and concerns. Based on a 2010 survey with respect to long-term health care, women represented more than 70% of nursing home residents. Just under 11% of women age 65 plus lived in poverty compared to only 6% of men. 37% of women age 65 lived alone compared to 19% of men. I know just recently I did have an event at a nearby nursing home facility during the lunchtime, and as I looked out upon the crowd of attendees, there was no doubt that at least in this case, I would say perhaps in excess of 70% of the residents, nursing home residents, were women. It might have been actually 80 or 90. So what do women need to do, and how can women start taking control of their financial future? Well, I guess if we want to be optimistic, we could say, number one, the first and most important step is that you've reviewed this presentation. Number two is you may want to consider meeting with a financial professional to help you develop a financial plan, to grow your own knowledge on investing fundamentals. Much like you would talk to a physician seeking medical advice or an attorney for legal counsel, your financial professional has a knowledge to help you develop this plan based upon your unique specific needs. I think if there's anything that, if you will, drives me crazy as a financial advisor, is seeing these self-help gurus making pronouncements that everybody should buy X, like gold, or everybody should do Y, buy something else. And I think the key here is we don't go to the TV in many cases or to the internet to seek out legal or medical advice. I would say that I would encourage people to look at their money as being very important to them and take that time to meet with a financial professional. In developing the financial plan, the professional will start the process by helping you to identify your financial goals based upon your own unique needs and very specific in terms of your money and your time. You'll then review your current financial situation, which includes elements like your income, expenses, net worth, existing retirement programs such as 401ks, IRAs, 403bs, the various types of insurance you have in place, and the beneficiaries you've designated for various financial accounts. Knowing your current situation allows you and your financial professional to develop a plan that's aligned with your goals and starts immediately working for you. I will tell you from a personal perspective, I recently met with an individual that we went through this initial assessment process, and we made some calls to check on status or gather in outside assets. This individual that I was with, we made a telephone conference call. I had encouraged her to check with one of her previous employers. She replied, well, I probably don't have much there in terms of a pension. We found out to the contrary that she was eligible for a lump sum distribution of over $65,000. I'll say that again. We found through one phone call that she had a retirement lump sum distribution available to her in excess of $65,000, of which she had no knowledge existed. She had moved a number of times, and the address on record they had of hers was over 20 years old. $65,000. Your advisor will help you gain a sound knowledge base of investing fundamentals. They will take into consideration the fact that women are earning less, spending years in the workplace, fewer years in the workplace, living longer, and put together a plan that takes that into account. Also looking at the impact of inflation, taxes, and asset allocation. Inflation alone is probably other than taxes, is probably the largest, as I call it, silent thief, which gets overlooked in your retirement planning process. So what is inflation? Well, inflation is really nothing more than the rise in prices for goods and services over time. The average annual inflation rate over the last 30 years has been just a little over 4%. People often don't think about how this impacts their spending power over time, because 4% seems like a relatively low number in any given year, but over long periods of time, such as a 30-year retirement, an annual increase in prices of 4.3% can have a tremendous impact on your financial situation, eroding the value of your savings and investments. Now, this graph shows the effects of inflation on the value of a dollar in the next 30 years with an annual inflation rate of only 2.5%. Our dollar today in 10 years will be worth only 78 cents. In 20 years, 61 cents. And in 30 years, less than half at 48 cents. To make matters worse, medical expenses, which can be a considerable factor for retirees, are rising faster than the average inflation rate. A recent estimate from the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services suggests medical inflation may be as high as 6.9% annually. So people planning for retirement would be wise to plan for an inflation rate overall higher than this very generous 2.5%. I mentioned taxes. Why do we want to defer taxes? Well, if we look at this chart, we can see why. This chart shows that over a period of time, an initial investment of just $10,000 with an assumed annual rate of growth of 8%, after a period of 45 years, is going to be worth in the neighborhood of $225,000 if tax deferred. If, on the other hand, tax is at a rate of 15% for capital gains, or up to 28% in this example for ordinary income, would shrink that retirement savings from $225,000 down to only $150,000, which is quite significant. I had also previously mentioned the role of asset allocation. A number of studies have found asset allocation to be one of the most important factors in determining both the return and the risk of an investment portfolio. This asset allocation is the process of developing a diversified investment portfolio by combining different assets in varying proportions. An asset is anything that produces income or growth and can be purchased and sold. These include stocks, bonds, certificates of deposits. Asset classes are groupings or grouped together assets with similar characteristics and properties. Examples include large company stocks, long-term government bonds, treasury bills. So every asset class has distinct characteristics and may perform differently in response to changes in various financial markets. So careful consideration must be given to determine which assets your investment portfolio should hold and the amount the portfolio should allocate to each one of these assets. Factors that greatly influence the asset allocation decision are your individual financial situation and your individual goals, which determine your time horizon or investment period, and also your attitude towards risk. So in summary, remember, number one, women influence today's economy, business, and the workplace. However, women do face unique financial challenges. Women, in many cases, much more than men, should develop a financial plan with a financial professional. And women should grow their knowledge of investing fundamentals. Now, if you'd like to learn more, please go to my website, www.briantsikorski.com. So it's BRIANTSIKORSKI.com. On my website here, you can see that I do have helpful content that you can watch, little videos about different topics such as personal finance, disability, life insurance. From this same page, if you go to the top, you can see that I have icons that if you click them, it will take you to my other web pages or my other sites, including my Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube accounts. So with that, I will say thank you very much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.